Cary Barlowe.
Hey, man.
Thanks for being on the show, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a little early, but...
It is early. Well, when we texted back and forth about it, you're like, I can do it in the morning. And I'm like, I didn't... Like, I'm such a morning person.
Yeah.
So...
It's because we have kids.
We have kids.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Are you naturally a morning person, or...
You know, I'd say the last, 3 to 4 years. The older I've gotten, I wake up earlier. I don't know. I don't know if that comes with the age, I guess, you know, with the gray hairs.
I love That's true. I love getting up early and going to bed early. That's just my thing.
Not my 20s anymore, so
no.
Yeah.
Let's go all the way back to the beginning. What was the first dollar that you made in the music business?
Oh, man. Well, probably songwriting. You know, it's funny. I ended up saving one of my first ASCAP checks, and it was literally for $1.47. I can't even tell you what it was. There might have been. There's probably been some moments where I've played guitar for someone and made $1 doing that. You know, I joined my brother's band when I was 17. So
yeah.
You know, and we would make some money. Some is meaning very little, but for a lot of years, and then it ended up getting better. But yeah. So yeah, I can't tell you the exact moment.
Yeah. Where was that? Where'd you guys grow up at?
So we grew up in North Carolina. All my family's in Lenore and Boone, North Carolina, in the mountains, and grew up in a very musical family. A lot of Southern gospel, a lot of preachers, a lot of singing, a lot of hymns, you know, old school hymns, and we used to sing, you know, get up in front of the church at 4 and 5 years old and sing with my mom and dad and my brothers and sister, and that's how we learned how to carry a tune and to harmonize. And I love harmony. I mean, to this day, I just think it's such a cool, you know, when you hear it right, it's just unbelievable, you know. So
well, we were talking about it. You said your 2.5-year-old already harmonizes, right?
Dude, yeah. She can basically, she can't harmonize yet, but she can stay on her lead, and me and Hillary will harmonize with her. Yeah. Which is, I mean, that's pretty crazy for a 2.5-year-old, you know.
That's nuts.
Which is kind of scary. We're like, oh no, she's got the music bug already. No, it's cute though.
So music, obviously 17-year-old playing in your brother's band. Did you have? It sounds like you have a really musical family. Was it kind of like the thing where you just knew that's what you were going to do, or how did it all kind of turn
honestly,
into a career?
I really, you know, being from North Carolina, I had the kid dream of I'm going to be a basketball star and play at the University of North Carolina. I mean, that's what every kid from North Carolina dreams. But you know, reality sets in, and you're like, okay, I'm not as tall as that. I'm not as athletic as that. So, but I just always have loved music, man. I mean, we had drums and trumpets and guitars and mandolins, and everything was always at our house. And my brother Nathan, being 9.5, 10 years older than me, he really paved the way for me musically, man. Like he, you know, dove in at an early age. I mean, he was doing his own concerts at 14 and 15 years old.
Wow.
At little Christian clubs in Lynchburg, Virginia, where that's where we lived at the time. We moved from North Carolina, our family, to Lynchburg when my dad had a church, and I was born in Lynchburg. Okay. So yeah, my brother just was like, I mean, you know, the early influences of, you know, Michael W. Smith and Carmen and back in those days, and then he discovered Britpop 80s. And The Cure and Depeche Mode took over. So yeah. But
I love it, man. So what was the journey between you joining your brother's band and then where you're at today? I mean, you're just absolutely crushing it in country music as a songwriter, and really where a lot of people would love to be. Like, I'm sure the long road getting there. Walk us through just maybe the timeline there.
Crazy road. So 17, the day after I graduated high school, literally the day after I walked across the stage, got my diploma, me and my mom got in a truck and we moved to Nashville. Yeah, which is crazy. I knew my senior year of high school, my brother was like, dude, I want you to join the band. And I literally would lock myself in my room and just play guitar, and I would learn either popular songs on the radio, classic rock songs, just to get better, you know, get my chops up and get, you know, just get better, you know. And there was a guitar player that was leaving at the time that I was graduating, so it kind of, the setup was like perfect, and so moved to town. Actually, my senior year, I ended up missing like weeks and weeks of school because I would go out to Nashville and start learning the songs, start rehearsing a little bit, and then I'd have to come home and go back to class, but I couldn't wait to get out of there. Loved all my friends, and my teachers, but
So your mom, like, that's kind of crazy. I mean,
man,
packed you up and moved here.
Yeah. My parents ended up divorcing when I was like 12, so we're all still really tight, and my mom and dad are great friends and stuff, and so it was just. Music was just what I knew I wanted to do, and we packed up and came here. It was awesome. My mom did that, and she ended up working for the lieutenant governor downtown Nashville. And then 2 weeks after I joined Luna Halo, we were on tour in Europe.
Wow!
And I was 17. I mean, just graduated high school. I mean, I think I was just turning 18.
Yeah.
It was crazy, man. I mean, I went from, in those days, Luna Halo had put out a record on Sparrow, and it was very more of the Christian CCM thing. And my brother's always been kind of an edgy guy, and he's had his own things in life that, we've gone in different directions and stuff, and musically and personally and everything. So. That I wasn't a part of the Christian record. I was still in high school, or whenever that album came out. So when I joined, I feel like our sound, and I think my brother would naturally say this, it ended up getting a little bit heavier, rock sounding. Like I was into, I love the Britpop stuff, but I also had this side. I loved AC/DC and Led Zeppelin, and just big guitars, just in your face, but I also loved, I grew up in the era of like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, and so I love pop music. I mean, I love just everything. I mean, everything that is popular, I love, and not popular. I love indie weird music too. But joined the band at 17. We toured for years, and it just got to the point where we were still doing some of the more Christian shows and stuff, but just got to a point where we were, my brother ended up going through a divorce too, and we just were writing songs that might have to do about heartbreak and things that are just general people could relate to, Some of it would be spiritual based possibly, and some of it would just be whatever came out, and so we ended up doing a record and touring for years, and we just started playing clubs, man, from the ground up. I mean, no one knew who the heck. We'd go to these little towns, pack up in a van and trailer, and just start from the smoky bars, PBRs and cigarettes, and playing for nothing, and trying to scrape money for Red Roof Inns and things like that. And dude, we started building a following in obviously Nashville, but those were the days where it wasn't really cool to be a rock band from Nashville. I mean, so we would go to Atlanta. Our drummer, Chris Coleman, at the time, was from there. So he had a lot of friends that kind of started really digging our music, and the crowds just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And we ended up selling out, small, tiny clubs, and they would get bigger and bigger, and the Masquerade sizes and Cotton Club sizes, and getting, starting to be like, wow, this is starting to work in some pretty big cities, and things like that. And then obviously for money wise, we wouldn't want to just drive out to California when you're like, oh wait, we gotta have gas money to get back, So we'd play the South. Obviously we'd go to North Carolina where we grew up and do great in Chapel Hill, Raleigh, Lincoln Theater, places like that. So anyways, the songwriting stuff, me and Nathan were probably the key writers in our band, and Chris and Aaron were great as well. But we were probably, would sit at home and write these songs, and we ended up we ended up getting signed by Rick Rubin, and we went through a lot of label showcases through those years that were. Some of them were just horrible, and like we would not kill it.
Like the performances, or just
just where like, hey, you got this huge big wig from New York or LA coming to see you, and there's moments where we'd be like, we thought we killed it, and just you wouldn't hear back. So there's just a long.
How many of those do you think there were? Like before signing to or meeting?
I mean, there's no telling. I mean, I don't know the number, but I mean, probably 10. I
Wow.
mean, 5 to 10, easy.
Wow.
Probably more like 10, you know?
So Rick Rubin, I'm geeking out a little bit over that, and I want to hear about that. How did you guys connect with him?
So a guy named Dino Paredes, who basically found bands like System of a Down and who became to be a massive globally, band that sold gazillions of records. Found them. He worked for Rick for years and years, probably almost 20 years or whatever. He had heard about us through, I guess, the rock world and the label scenes and just the buzz. We started to get a buzz. We'd played South by Southwest and things were like starting to heat up, he flew to Nashville, and then he would come to Atlanta, and he would always take us out for like crazy nights. I mean, spend money on dinners and wine and alcohol, and we'd just be like, "What? This is crazy!" We're eating like kings and stuff, and then we're like, "We think he loves our stuff," and basically that led to we're going to play in front of Rick Rubin, basically at the time where Velvet Revolver was rehearsing.
Wow.
So, dude, you talk about nervous, man. I mean, I remember we got we got up there and we were like, we don't know if we're gonna play half a song, 5 songs, however, we'll do whatever he asks us to do. We get there, there's like a couch set up, they're waiting for him. He rolls up in a Bentley with his driver. He gets out with his hair and just the whole thing, and we're just like, oh my gosh. I mean, this guy's a legend, and
it was like fully what you would imagine.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's super cool, and the first meeting was very, very quick. I mean, it was a shake hand. Basically, we walked in, they gave us a look, hit the count off, Wow. So we were just about to puke.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just pretty nerve-wracking because we just had to hopefully do our thing and hopefully it'd go well.
So it wasn't an actual show? It was just like you guys play?
I don't know. It was like total label people. It was him and probably no more than 10 people. Yeah. I mean, So, I mean, you got to turn on the energy and the rock vibes with 10 people in the room.
Man, can you talk about that? Because that's something that a lot of people just absolutely, that's like their worst nightmare, like doing label showcases.
I mean, it's not fun. Let's just be honest. I mean, for anybody that has to end up doing that, it's not fun. I don't think you can prepare. I guess you could prepare yourself and just try to do the best, but if you overthink about it and make yourself you're like dizzy, it's like you just got to go in there and do your best, man. And that's what we tried to do. And we got to the point where, there's a bunch of stories from Michael Jordan getting cut from like freshman year of basketball, and we heard a lot of no's. It's finding that one person, whether you're a writer or a artist or a singer or whatever, that can just believe in you. And sometimes that takes 10 years, 15 years. There's no time. It could take 6 months. You could be on a show like The Voice and it could happen like that. But there's just finding that person, man.
So he liked the showcase, I take it?
I guess so, yeah, man. He liked it. And they ended up signing us, man. And we ended up, a couple more weeks went on, and I think Dino came to a couple more shows, and they were like, we're signing you. And at the time, we got signed to American Recordings and Warner Brothers. So Warner was the big, backing. American were like the A&R. And then, so we had the backing of Warner Brothers. And so that's when they were like, hey, pack your bags. You're coming out to stay in Burbank. They had these like 2 apartments. Me and my brother stayed in one. Chris and Aaron would stay in one, which was awesome. And yeah, man, it was funny. They're called the Oakwood Apartments, and there was all these little child like actor kids in LA, like these like beautiful kids that are going to be on like the Disney movie, Disney or Warner Brothers shows, or it was funny. And then there'd be like these dirty rock bands that are living in other apartments and stuff. But it was cool, man. Yeah, it was weird. But every day we would load up and head to the studio for 3 months with Neil Avron and Rick Rubin. Yeah. And Rick Rubin was next door producing the Dixie Chicks. So that was a pretty cool experience. And Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers were playing drums, and Mike Campbell from Heartbreakers was playing guitar. So getting to rub shoulders with some of those guys, and the history of that studio, Sunset Sound, was mind blowing, you know. So it was a cool experience, man. I mean,
yeah. What was that like? We've had Neil on the show, and we still work with him a lot. What was it like working with Rick Rubin?
Man, you know, well, I give Rick Rubin a lot of credit, but I give a lot of credit to Neil Alron. Rick was definitely the first believer in signing us and all that. And one thing, the biggest thing Rick did was picking out the songs. We went in with like 60, no exaggeration, to 80 songs.
Wow.
That he listened to every one of them and or like, nope. Yes, yeah. Finally, he got some yeses, you know, way on down the line. And during pre-production for, you know, some of the timelines are probably not exactly right, but
yeah,
we were probably in, 2 to 3 weeks into pre-production with Neil. We ended up writing 2 songs in pre-production that him and Rick loved.
Wow.
So how crazy is that? Like, we've had these years of our band to write these songs that would be our first, you know, mainstream label debut, and we write 2 songs in pre-production. Yeah. Pretty crazy, man.
Yeah. Well, that's a great tie-in, because the whole thing we're talking about today is that hit songs can start with crazy ideas, and not only crazy ideas, they can start with crazy situations like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, the fact, if you would have told me that on stage while pre-production we would be jamming, just like probably getting sounds up, and then all of a sudden we're writing these melodies and lyrics, and it becomes they become on our record, you know?
Yeah.
And so, man, you just never know. I mean, forwarding to some of the country stuff, there's been songs that have had success, like we've gotten the title from a whiskey bottle that's sitting like on a coffee table or something, and it's like, I mean, who would have ever thought, you know, just like things like that, where sometimes the titles are things in conversations or something that's right in front of you, and it's sometimes it's not this like, oh my gosh, I had this dream, or like, you know, sometimes it's the most simple things, and just turn it into a commercial song the best as you can, you know, like. Yeah.
So obviously the Luna Halo thing kind of ran its course, did the record.
Yeah, we obviously didn't go on to sell millions of records, but man, some of the best years of my life. I mean, just, my college years I didn't go to college, you know. It was spent, your college. Yeah, it was spent in a rock band. So what a cool experience. I mean, I definitely lived and saw a lot, but just, man, got to tour with bands like Velvet Revolver and Hoobastank, Collective Soul back in those days, and a lot of other cool things. But
what was the journey between that and getting your break into country music?
Well, I owe a lot of credit to Mr. TOBYMAC. Man, he gave me my first publishing deal. So while I was writing songs for Luna Halo, I have always had this passion of I've loved all genres of music and just songwriting in general, whether it's just coming up with melodies and chords and or lyrics or titles or that doesn't necessarily sound like our band, but sounds like it possibly could work for somebody. Yeah. It's always had that desire to, what does that mean? You know, and at the time I didn't really know what publishing, 20 years old, publishing deal was. And so, my brother I'd known some of these guys like Toby and Michael and Kevin and other guys in the Christian music scene for years. But as I started getting older and they heard about my guitar playing and stuff, they would ask me to come play guitar on their records and stuff. And that led to a publishing deal with Toby for 3 years. And I ended up having, a lot of success with him, and which was awesome, and some other Christian artists. But I wanted to see what else was out there. Like, I totally love the CCM scene and still totally respect it and honor it and everything. But I've always loved country. Being from North Carolina, I was raised I got a lot of country influence in my family, and as country music started to take a shift to be more pop leaning and more melodic, maybe. I love all the classic stuff. I remember my grandpa listening to, Hank and Merle Haggard and all that stuff as a kid, and even my dad at times. But which I love. But I love commercial and just melodic things. So I don't know. Like I was with EMAC, which is through Toby, for 3 years, and then I just took a risk to see if I could get signed off Music Row, and I was like, maybe not. But honestly, went and met with a lot of publishers and heard a lot of, this is cool, but not really our fit. And this is still at the beginning of the kind of leaning more towards pop stuff changing.
So what kind of, had you been working on some pop stuff during that time that you were like taking around to publishers and playing for them?
Not really, man. I played them, all the Luna Halo songs. I said, look, here's what I do naturally. Yeah. It's Luna Halo. Here's the Christian stuff I've done with Toby and other Christian artists. Here's maybe just some random songs that are maybe pop rock or this or that. So I didn't roll in there with like, hey, here's 10 country songs that you could pitch to Garth Brooks or whoever. It was definitely not like that, I think Bob Doyle and Jesse Frazier, I think they heard something in my music from what they said about just the melodies and guitar hooks and things I brought to the table that intrigued them to see if I could bring what I do naturally to a more country fit with maybe somebody who is more country leaning than me, musically speaking. And man, it ended up working out, man. It's a blessing. I had my first. I ended up signing with Major Bob, and golly, what year was that? I'm so bad at remembering the years, but maybe 2003 or 4. Okay. Maybe somewhere around in there. 5 maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I'm bad about that. But I was there for 10 years. Yeah. So pretty crazy, man. It could have been more like 2005ish, but what
was your first like country cut? Like,
so
you remember what that?
I do, and it's a pretty bizarre story. So Scott Borchetta, this is rewinding a little bit back to Luna Halo. He was a big Luna Halo fan. Scott Borchetta, way before Taylor Swift, way before Big Machine. He was working at DreamWorks at the time. He's a rock cat, man. He loves rock music. He would be coming out to our shows, and I'm glad I brought him up because we owe a lot to him as well. He ended up getting us money from DreamWorks in LA to do a 4-song demo. So we ended up getting like $25,000 or $30,000, and we went in with one of our like local heroes in Nashville named Matt Mahaffey, who had this band out of Murfreesboro called Self, which we were obsessed with. When I heard that his Subliminal Plastic Motives record, me and my brother just lost our minds, and my brother was a big fan, and then I learned who Matt was and just the stuff he had done, and he produced 4 of our songs that we ended up getting us signed with Rick too. So forgot about that aspect when I was talking about all that. But so Scott was just a big fan, man. He was a big fan. He would come to our shows. My brother ended up getting signed to Still Working Music, which was Barbara Orbison, who was married to Roy. So he was there for 5 years, and she was a huge player in Luna Halo and just our songwriting in general. So forward to your question, after we made the Luna Halo record that was on American and Columbia, our record ended up coming out on Columbia. So, of course, another thing that was not in what we didn't think was going to happen. Curveball thrown. In music, surprise, surprise. But Rick left Warner Brothers and took American recordings to Columbia, which was through Sony, and our record came out there. Okay. So, anyways, just a side note.
I'm glad you brought that up, though, because music is often not like, here's the 5 steps to start.
Oh my gosh!
It's we'll try this, and then that will go this way, and then it's never a straight line.
Dude, amen to that. I mean, if there was a manual that I could tell my talented friends or people that we work with, like, this is what you do, or a formula. Unfortunately, man, we're all on our own paths, and it can be a struggle at times. And if you just stick with it, man, I mean, it's hard. I mean, there's moments where we all wanted to pack up and head back home and just get a job at Home Depot or wherever, which is, I'm nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, quitting music, and because it's hard, man, to make money in this business. You gotta stick with it, And anyways,
I sidetracked you a little bit. What was that first country cut after?
Yeah, so the record came out. We ended up a song called Untouchable that ended up being our single that we made a video and all that. Scott Borchetta going back to him, he gave our record to Taylor Swift. And this was long after Big Machine was already rocking. But she had the country success. She was still doing the country thing. And so her album Fearless came out. Well, they decided to like repackage it and put 3 or 4 new songs on it. She ended up cutting our song Untouchable.
Wow.
Yeah, which is crazy, man. And
I never knew that.
Scott gave her that album, and basically there was some kind of like AOL acoustic thing that she had to do, and she had to pick a cover. So of all the covers in the universe, better songs than ours, she chose our song. I mean, wow. We were floored, man. I mean, it was like this young girl that is blowing up, not only in the country genre, but worldwide. These young kids and people are relating to. She did our song. It didn't end up being a single, but it got a lot of attention to our band. All of a sudden, wait, who's Luna Halo? For people that didn't know who we were, which was millions of people.
Right.
But so that was a cool moment, man. She ended up, she did it on SNL. So it's on Saturday Night Live, and that moment, I remember me and my brother and some of our friends and girlfriends at the time and stuff got together, and we were just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
This is crazy.
Yeah, and she ended up putting they ended up putting it on the repackaged Fearless album, and I think the album sold 6 million. And so that was my first country cut. So I was coming into Major Bob with, hey, I got a Taylor Swift cut. Like, well, what the heck? I fell in our lap. So that was,
wow.
That's another thing in music, man. There are things that can happen that aren't planned, and that can be just a blessing out of nowhere, and it's pretty cool, man. That was a huge moment. And, having that behind our belt was cool, and even it wasn't planned, it was a cool thing. And then from there, man, just trying to build off that and just write commercial music. And man, there was hundreds of songs that didn't go anywhere, and then every now and then I would get maybe a smaller cut here and there, or a thing that would land in a TV show or something small. And then I ended up where I met my future lady on a songwriting retreat. A guy named Shane Stevens, who's a dear friend of me and Hillary's, he introduced me and Hillary. And Shane was at Major Bob at the time as well. We would write together a bunch, and he was like, dude, I want to introduce you to Hillary Lindsay, and we need to go write. So obviously I knew who Hillary's name was, and I never written with her, but I knew she was crazy talented. And we had gotten together and just written some songs at her house, a house that I had ended up moving into years later, which was crazy. But we wrote our first song right there at the fireplace, where she wrote like Jesus Take the Wheel and like songs like that. And
that's crazy.
So I remember, we went on this trip to Gatlinburg. We would go to Gatlinburg and rent a little cabin and just old school bring our pen and paper and our acoustic. We bring like little drums to drum on for rhythms, and like, this is before your like Pro Tools and all that, and recorders. And I think we'd have our laptops and stuff too, but for like GarageBand record or whatever. And we ended up on one of the first trips writing American Honey.
Wow.
That was my first country #1 song that for Lady Antebellum. And it was one of those songs we ended up writing probably 3 or 4 songs on that retreat. It was like a 2 or 3 day thing, and it was fun, man. We'd get a bunch of wine, a bunch of snacks and food, and I remember we wrote that song. It was snowing outside, and it was
that. And you were saying that just literally came off the whiskey bottle, right? Just
so that's a funny story. We before we went to the cabin, we were like, well, we got to go get some snacks and maybe some wine or some booze or food and whatever, and it was cold, so I was like, I just like to sip on some bourbon in the wintertime a little bit. And that was after Wild Turkey had come out with the bottle of American Honey, and I'd heard about it. I don't even think I might have had it once before, and I told Hillary and Shane, I was like, y'all got to try this. I'm like, you can like heat it up in the microwave. It almost tastes like a hot toddy or something, So basically, I think one of us grabbed the bottle that was like probably on the kitchen counter and took it to the coffee table around the fireplace, where we were just kind of like, on our knees writing, with acoustic guitars and stuff. And dude, it just I don't even know who it was. It might have been Shane said, that would be an amazing song title.
Wow.
And we had no idea, where it would, what it was going to be about. Hillary, just brilliant, man. Like, I think, I started playing the guitar riff. And man, it just started happening, Wow. I mean, the melody started flying, and it ended up being just about the nostalgia of just going back to your childhood, and some Southern imagery in there, and man, I got to give props to Mike Doyle, Bob's son. He worked at Major Bob, still does, but he walked the song into to Lady A as they're in the studio.
Wow.
Like that's kind of an old school approach.
Yeah.
These days everything's so, email driven, or send the MP3 here or text an MP3. He walked a CD with American Honey. This isn't that long ago, 2000, probably 2008.
Yeah.
He walked it in and was like, I got something you guys got to hear.
Wow.
And threw it in the CD player, and in this giant studio, and dude, Charles just flipped out and was like, wow. Oh my gosh. And yeah, man. So, and that ended up being on the Need You Now record, right? And it was a single after Need You Now. So the setup of Need You Now being this worldwide hit, to follow up with our song was a big deal. So that was the first. Sorry, that was long-winded.
It's been off to the races since then, and we could chat about your country hits all day long.
Yeah,
I know you've probably got a session to get to and a hit to write. So
hopefully, yeah.
I'm gonna get through our full circle 5, which are our last 5 questions. So
yeah, man.
What is your favorite book or record that you most commonly recommend to people?
Or record?
Sure.
Okay, I will say this. I'm actually not a great book reader. I think a little bit of it is like ADD moment. Like I can't find myself sitting down. I like watching documentaries and movies. I'm a visual guy,
Okay, so documentary recommended.
Well, I will say this. 3 or 4 years ago, I read The Shack.
Okay.
And me and Hillary were on vacation in like Cabo or something, and I'm like, I am going to read a book from front to back if it's the last thing I do. I'm like, I'm in this beautiful place.
Yeah.
Me and Hillary, it's like beautiful. The sun's out. We're by this pool. Dude, I read it, and
wow.
Man, I was really intrigued, man. It was such a cool way to portray God, how even saying the name Papa, and
right, yeah.
I don't know. And this is way before I knew they were doing a movie. It might have been more than 4 years ago. This might have been 5 or 6 years ago. That book's always stayed with me. As far as really enjoying it, and just the spiritual journey to faith that character Mac went through, and the cabin being the symbol of it, and then obviously the horror of his daughter getting taken away was pretty. I did not know that was going to be happening like the first couple pages, right. But I don't know, man. I really enjoyed that, and I think I had told a couple friends, I was like, dude, you got to read this book, and then forward to them making the movie about it. But I really enjoyed that book.
It's a great recommendation. I love it too, man.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about failure. Failure can be a great thing if it changes your perspective or the way you behave, or maybe even your career path. In that sense, was there a favorite failure that you had that you can identify that you're like, that was the turning point for me?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, it's hard because it kind of almost hurts to say it, but like, if our band had blown up to be the next Killers, I wouldn't have met Hillary, and I wouldn't have dove into the songwriting thing like I did. I mean, everybody has always said, like, you guys were this close, and everybody's like, oh, what an amazing album you guys made. But although we did get to do some incredible things and play massive shows, and that, we never went on to be the next, we didn't get to be as the Kings of Leon, and love those guys. But, but if that had happened, where would I end up? Where would my life end up? I wouldn't have my, Hillary, like I said, and my little baby girl. I mean, who knows, and I get, God has control of our lives, and it's like, I never would have thought, at 17, I would be writing, commercial country music and having some success. And so I'd have to say, like, just a failure of what looked like it was about to happen, and it did happen to some degree, but ultimately didn't take off.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't be where I am now. So,
yeah. That's good. It's good perspective. So before you dove fully in, like, was there a period where you were doing like side hustles or anything just to kind of pay the bill?
Bro, absolutely, man. I mean, I was guitaring myself out. I mean, I was just like anything. I mean, especially in the early days. I mean, even while in Luna Halo, maybe before the publishing deal, let me come play. Give me $100. I'll come play on your demo, or like, doing a lot of that stuff. I mean, just playing shows for, some up and coming artists, and like we all have to do, whatever that, whether you're singing or playing an instrument or. So
in that season, what was the number one thing that kind of held you back from being able to just go full on into it?
Well, probably just like financially, I guess. I mean, just like in those days, I refused to get another job. I mean, I was pretty hard-headed. I mean, my dad helped me out a lot. I mean, probably a lot of times when he didn't even have the money, he would send me $100 here and there, and I would, be living with 4 or 5 guys and, crappy little house, but fun times, man. I mean, I lived on Love Circle with some other musician guys.
Yeah.
Dude, what a great time. We were all in the struggle train. Cars barely ran. We were eating Beanie Weenies and Taco Bell and drinking PBR, and life was great, And we didn't know any better. It's like, when you're so I think the struggle is a part of the story, man.
Yeah.
And the failures and the no's, and so I think you dive in when you can, and when it makes sense. And, music is a financial burden at times, when you're starting out. And if you can't, you feel like sometimes 2 steps, 3 steps forward, you go backwards. And, it's a constant roller coaster. I mean, to this day, it's a roller coaster ride, You find out you have a single and then it tanks, or you might have this or that, There's still failures.
Yeah. So what is something that's working for you right now?
Man, I would say, so Jesse Frazier left Major Bob and started a little JV of Rock Nation, which is Jay-Z's company, and it's called Rhythm House Music. And man, I respect and love Bob and all the years at Major Bob, but Jesse is just such a forward thinker and modern, and we love pop music. We love everything from hip hop to rock to Christian music and all in between, bluegrass, Southern gospel, So we're just always thinking of creative ways of moving forward, whatever that looks like. And so I think just whether it's starting to work, I think it's just building on maybe some momentum. And like I said, there's some months that I'm like, oh man, I'm killing it, and then there's other months where you're like, come on, something happened here,
Yeah.
But music's riding the wave, man. I mean, it goes up and down, and I just got the next Little Big Town single. So,
dude, congrats!
Thank you, man. And
awesome. What's that song called?
It's called Summer Fever.
Nice.
So it's just a total no-brainer summer jam. Kind of has an '80s influence.
Did that one have a crazy idea that came from? Or
man, honestly, it really didn't. It was a Rock Nation Rhythm House retreat, and a lot of the Rock Nation writers from LA and England and other cities came all to Nashville, and Rhythm House, our office, was like the hub, and we ended up trying to pull as many writer friends and artist friends into the mix, and we ended up getting to write. Billy Currington came in and wrote. Karen Fairchild from Little Big Town wrote with us that particular day, and a guy named Sam Romans, who is he's from England, great artist, writer, and so we ended up, Jesse actually had this track pretty much built up.
Yeah.
So we came in and he had this groovy like 70s, 80s vibe. It just felt summery, beachy to us, man, and that was just one of those things. We just wrote it in Jesse's studio that day. Yeah, there was no. It was just a feel. We just had this feeling of like the summer. And actually, you know what? We wrote that a year ago late August, so almost a year ago.
Yeah.
So it was still summer and hot outside, and maybe we were all wishing we were at the beach that day. So
I love it, man.
Yeah, man.
So last question. If you woke up tomorrow morning and all of this stuff disappeared and the phone stopped ringing and you stopped getting these cuts and you had to start all over again.
Happen.
Yeah, I hope that does not happen.
For
but
all of us.
hypothetically, if it did, and you had to start from square one, but you still have all the experiences and knowledge and relationships, you could do anything you want. What would you do?
Man, honestly, I would do something in the outdoors.
Okay.
I love fishing and being outside and hunting and that whole thing. And I did some of it growing up. And as I've been in Nashville for, since 2000, I've done a lot of it. You know, I've traveled a lot in Montana and seen some of these beautiful states. And, man, just being outside, and it's not even the like, hey, let's go hunting and shoot something. It's not even that. It's just being outside, man. I love fishing. And I don't know. I don't know what it would look like necessarily, but just enjoying the outdoors, you know, some way. I would go down that lane.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here with us today. Is there anything you're working on that you're pumped to share?
Man, not other than just the everyday trying to write the next song, man. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
That's great. So how can people find you? Social media, all that
I'm on Instagram, just Cary Barlowe, and Twitter. I think, you know, not that creative with the names. It's pretty much just Cary Barlowe all the way around. So Facebook.
I love it.
And also. Yeah, man.
Thanks for being on the Made It Music
Thanks
podcast.
so much for having me, man. It was a lot of fun.